We came to California to finally see something the public hasn't laid eyes on since 1985. We just arrived at the Getty in Los Angeles, and we're going to go see one of the nation's top art conservators. He's been working on a painting, trying to save it for the past several years, past 3 years or so, all through the pandemic. This is a painting we've done stories on, we've produced a documentary about, we've been talking about, but we've never actually seen this painting in person. The Getty isn't only a world-class art museum, it's also a bit of an art hospital.
Yes, yeah, you could say that actually. And incidentally, we use some of the same tools that surgeons might use.
For 3 years, Ulrich Birkmeyer has led a team working patiently to salvage a painting called Woman Ochre. It's among the finest examples of abstract expressionism.
When it first came to the Getty, all you saw is the horrific sort of damage that was done to the painting. And now it's come back to life. So in a way, it's a resurrection, really.
But before you see what it looks like now, we should remind you of what happened to it.
You know, I was just cleaning up details, and then this changed the whole thing.
Ron Roseman was closing out his aunt and uncle's estate in 2017 when the FBI called.
They were inquiring about a painting that was found in my aunt's house.
The agent wanted to know where his Aunt Rita got it, the one hidden behind her bedroom door in the cheap gold frame.
32 years ago, this painting was valued at $400,000. Now we're talking $150 million.
The FBI said the painting was stolen in 1985 from the University of Arizona's Art Museum. It's called Woman Ochre, painted by the well-known abstract artist Willem de Kooning back in the mid-50s. The thieves, though, cut the canvas out of the frame. They rolled it up, cracking the paint and damaging it even more, then took off. Witnesses said it was a man and a woman.
I can't imagine that they would. That wasn't the aunt and uncle I knew.
But circumstantial evidence began to mount. Turns out Jerry and Rita Alter were big fans of de Kooning. They were in Tucson, near that museum, the night before the theft. That's Ron Roseman there in the green shirt across the table from them. Plus, Jerry and Rita owned a red sports car, like the one witnesses said sped away after the crime. And to top it all, the stolen painting was found behind their bedroom door after they died. Any doubt in your mind Jerry and Rita Alter were the thieves?
There's always a doubt as an investigator, an art crime investigator. I'm 96% to 98% sure they were involved.
Bob Whitman is a retired FBI agent in Philadelphia, and he led the Bureau's National Art Crimes team. How likely is it that this was just a one-and-done deal, that this is the only thing they ever took?
In the case of the Alters, because of the way they did it, and they had the courage, so to speak, to be able to go in that way and do it, I wouldn't think that that's the only thing they ever took.
But no other stolen items, though, have ever been linked back to Jerry or Rita Alter. And even if they did not steal the de Kooning, they knew what they had and kept it hidden. Officially, the FBI says this remains an open case. Is it really?
Well, you know, I would never hazard to dispute what the FBI says, but I can tell you that I very much doubt that there's any active agents right now working on leads involving this case.
What's it going to take, though, for the FBI to close the case, I wonder?
It's not going to take much. At some point, a squad supervisor will say, why don't you close the case?
Plus, Whitman says if the case was still open, the painting would be held for evidence, not getting restored at the Getty in L.A.
The thieves probably rolled the painting up, most likely face in, and put it under his coat.
Do you cringe thinking about this?
Yes.
Paint was flaking off, and you could see deep lines of damage all across the canvas. But Ulrich Birkmeyer said his team discovered something else while restoring it, something the thieves did to the painting.
They addressed some of the damages that, that had occurred as a result of their violently pulling the painting off.
Did they try to touch it up?
They did.
Did they really?
Yeah. So they actually put a big patch of canvas and tried to paint them in, retouch them a little bit.
Laura Rivers had this $160 million painting under a microscope for a year and a half.
So as I was sort of setting down the paint in those areas where the damage is still visible and very clear, I was also gathering up the small fragments nearby in order to sort of clarify the image.
So after 3 years of meticulous restoration, this is what Woman Ochre looks like now. Difficult to see the damage from the crime unless you're close to the canvas. Take a look at the painting here side by side with what it looked like when it arrived at the Getty. Those lines now carefully blurred out.
I have learned in this field that many miracles can happen.
Ulrich still has a little work left to do before the painting goes back on display. He's filling in missing paint, one dot at a time.
Some elements of the conservation treatments are a little bit like plastic surgery, insofar as the best work is the one you don't really notice.
Some scars remain and always will. But what happened to Woman Ochre, the theft, the damage, the restoration, are now all part of this painting's provenance. A fine piece of American abstract art, with a story now as rich as the work itself. In Los Angeles, I'm Jason White.